So you know, okay?
Oh.
Okay,
Hi.
go. Good morning, people.
Welcome back. I'm going to do the entire show in sign language today.
James,
Breaking up?
yeah,
That's too bad.
I can barely hear you, but I hope people can hear us.
Well, we've got a good show, so I hope they can hear me.
Okay, good, go.
I'll write everything down on a piece of paper and hold it up. We're going to talk about starches today, two starches in particular. First one, we're going to talk about the wonderful golden crispy baguette, one of the world's great breads, and probably the only bread that has really come to be identified with a nation, or the nation is identified with it. Although, from what I've read, in France, they consider the baguette more of a Paris thing than a national thing.
James, I don't think people can hear you very well.
Uh-oh.
I don't know, but you're completely frozen, and on my screen you're frozen, and the sound is really terrible.
Oh, no. What are we going to do?
So I don't know. Well, I don't know. Keep. Let me see if I get you. Keep telling about the baguette. The baguette. Don't let me stop you with the baguette.
Okay. Well, baguettes have only been around for about 120 years or something.
That's it.
Yeah, it's a relatively recent thing, and it was in the late 19th century. They started doing long sticks of bread. In fact, that's what baguette means. It's a stick, right? It's a wand or a stick. And it was because in Paris, they had these vast fields of grain around Paris, which is what really allowed Paris to grow, was because the money from all this grain. They say all this grain, all these fields of wheat built Notre Dame, they say.
Wow.
In fact, the stained glass windows in Notre Dame were originally paid for and donated by the various guilds. And the biggest guild, they have 4 whole windows, is the Bakers Guild. So,
oh yeah,
they were very big and very powerful. And everybody every day.
I can't hear you at all. You're not coming out. Yeah. I think your computer is not pushing the signal, man. I'm losing you. That's not good. Ooh. Kimbo, are you here? You should log out and log in again. Yeah. Here you go. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with James, but I'm in my kitchen, and this is the back. This is all my staple. We're going to talk about rice in a minute, so I have my whole assortment of rice for you guys. Show you. Cool. All right. Well, we're going to wait for Mr. James to come back. I think he was abducted or something. This is where we are. In the kitchen in the back, so I'm staying away from the kitchen. This is where I am right now. And the baguette was born in I forgot when. Oh, Jimbo.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay, so the baguette. I was just showing my rice collection.
Oh, great.
But anyway, so the baguette, yes, the baguette was made with a different wheat, and one of the thing about bread is bread was food.
Right.
Very long time, right? I mean, it is food. It is food staple. So people have lived off bread many years in countries. Is it good for you if it's a really proper wheat, sourdough levain done the proper way? Yes, it's not bad. Impossible. The wheat we have today it's completely different. This is why we have hard time understanding why people were fed bread in the old days, and now we can't eat bread any longer because the wheat is different, and our body cannot eat that bread. So the wheat has about twice, 2 or 3 times or 4 times the amount of gluten in there, which the body has a hard time now. When you eat,
Right.
you are eating something that's already pre-digested by bacteria. So then it's much easier, and also the glycemic index is much lower when you eat sour bread.
Right. And a lot of it has to do with the genetically modified wheat that is so common in this country, especially any kind of really commercial bread, industrial bread.
Absolutely.
All genetically modified, and they don't allow that stuff in Europe. So the wheat is very different. Plus, they have a lot of old original strains of wheat that are really great to use.
Yeah, actually, in France, they are putting those back in the market.
Really?
Yeah.
The old wheat or the
Yeah, the old wheat. So they have the old wheat, the Ulmer wheat, that they are doing that again. And I've been cooking a couple of years ago for someone who's really had a lot of allergies, and I was doing some fricassee. You know what fricassee is?
yeah. Right.
This is green wheat.
Yeah. Right.
So that
Very big in Israel.
it's really baby wheat that don't have all this gluten and all these elements yet. So it's really light on the body. It's really cool. And it's pretty easy to make. Fricassee is really good. It's a wheat. So
Right.
talk about James, I know we're going to talk about rice after.
Right.
So we're still in the grain and starches, and then let's choose the baguette, and then we're going to go about the classification of what the things are, right?
Right. And it was a big deal to start making the baguettes because it completely changed the ratio of the crust to the inside. You know, it was all about, and that crust, that crispy outside, really appealed to the Parisians, I guess, and it became popular. And it's interesting. There are some really good baguettes made here, especially here in Berkeley.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hackney and other places make really good baguettes, and yet there's something about the baguettes in Paris that are so different. They're so light.
I asked a boulanger one day because some people come from France to make baguette here, so they have the same craftsmanship. It's not that they
Right.
don't. Flour, they find some really good flour, and a lot of time they tell me it's in the water.
Well, that must be it.
So the water is crucial when you make a good bread. It has to be really clean and non-flavorful with a whole bunch of stuff in there. So it's like the water is a key element of making bread.
Right.
Anyways, yeah, it's true.
I love bread. I love bread in many different forms.
I love bread a little bit, yeah.
I don't eat a lot of it as much as I used to, but I eat it most mornings. I eat it for breakfast.
Right.
I tend not to eat it later in the day, but I love it for breakfast.
And there was something funny in France. The baguette, the guild, the Bakers Guild, started around 1600, somewhere around the 1600, 1650s. And what happened is we talked about this before, but all those the corps de métier, which basically trades, they started to conglomerate together. So the charcutier, the butcher, the boulanger, the tea, there was no tea. The guy who does the horse thing. So any trade would have his guild, and
Right.
he had a guild, and he was also the baker. I remember. Actually, James, can you remind that super story about those people using one oven per village? Can you tell me that story again?
Right. Well, that still goes on in small villages in Italy and in
Let me finish that thing about the bread. So in Paris, there was the bread was weighed, and people they would not respect the weight and measure of the bread was thrown in jail. So it was very, very monitored at the time, really. So
Yeah.
And they decided to have the bread. The price of the bread was 1 écu at the time, and the bread would never rise its price. So what happened up to the years, centuries after centuries, and I think it stopped in 1850s or 1900. I forgot, but it was crazy. What they did, instead of doing the same amount of bread, they would sell the same price and the bread would get smaller and smaller, but the price would be the same. It's funny, eh? And I think it was 1 AQ, and they wanted that price to be set so people could eat bread because it's such an important staple.
It was such a basis of the diet. It kept people alive. I mean, even and if they kept that price, then even poor people that couldn't afford meat or veg, they could afford to buy bread.
Yes.
And
so they have the baker, and then they have the oven guy, right? The baker
right.
and the grinder, and they're all different.
Right. And in the little villages, they'd have one guy would be the baker that would bake bread for the village and other things. Yeah. And what he would do is he would fire up this oven, and people didn't have ovens at home because you couldn't afford one. You couldn't afford the fuel. There were no gas lines. I mean, it was all wood burning. Yeah. So the housewives would make their dough and other things. They would bring chickens in a roasting pan, everything. And then after the baker was done with his commercial production, people would be allowed to come in and put their own bread into the oven and bake it. And that's why people would score their bread on top. Everybody had their own little symbol that they would use, so you'd know it was your bread.
Right. That's great.
And then as the temperature came down in this wood oven, after you did, because the temperature was very high because it would cook very fast. And as it came down, they would do things like put chickens in there. In Italy, they would take these ceramic crocks full of beans and they'd put those in there, and they'd be in there for an hour and just cook. And so the whole town would come and would be allowed to do this. It's hard for us to imagine not having an oven in our house, but in those days, people just didn't have it. So it was very cool. And I don't know if you heard me before when I was getting cut out about how they always say that Notre Dame was built by the cereal.
No. Why don't you? Because I was interested. We cut that off.
There were all these vast plains around Paris that grew grain, mostly wheat. And it was the money from this cereal, this newfound wealth, that really built up Paris. And it's how they built Notre Dame. And in fact, all the stained glass windows were donated, paid for by the various guilds that you were talking about. Wow. And the bakers were the biggest. So they actually have like 4 windows in Notre Dame that they paid for more than anybody else, because the bakers were the biggest and strongest guild.
For those guilds, they decided to separate the guild from the bakers to the boulanger, because another thing that was happening in Paris, especially, the oven was inside a wood house and in the bottom of the house, and so many houses would burn down because of those ovens. They decided to completely separate all those trade, and the oven, the big oven, had to go outside or further.
Right.
Right? The grinder was outside, the oven was outside. So they're trying to separate all these trades so the whole city doesn't burn down.
That was probably a smart idea. Anyway, of course, there's a million different kinds of bread. There's a million different shapes, different kinds of grain that can be used.
And then when you go to Paris, you need to go see the pain poêlin, right?
Yes.
That was great. Oh my God, I love that.
Monsieur Poulin died a few years ago in a helicopter accident, but
so my mom had a restaurant in Paris. That's when I started to work with her when I was 15, and our bread was pain poêlin. It was delivered every day.
Yeah, they were massive loaves. In the grocery store, you buy them by the quarter. You buy a quarter loaf because they're huge, and really great stuff. And you imagine his starter must be very well protected, because they've used it for years and years and years. They just keep.
Yeah, their yeast is from what did they say, 1800 or 17 something?
Something like that. Yeah, it's amazing, really amazing. Anyway.
Yeah, good, huh? Nice.
So my second form of starch. There's lots of different kinds of starch. There's potatoes. There's pasta. There's all kinds of stuff. But my second favorite is rice. And this is a great time to eat rice because there are so many varieties of rice available now. And not just here in Berkeley, but throughout the country. It's amazing. And one of the companies that's been at the forefront of this is, they're not the only people that do great rice, but Lotus Foods, some good friends of mine, some good friends of yours. They bring all this beautiful rice in from Asia, and they've been doing it for years now. This is forbidden.
You
Can't
can't
have
buy
that.
this one. You can't have this one.
That, as legend would have it, the forbidden rice was eaten only by the emperors in the Forbidden City, and it supposedly gave them long life. But it's really good. It's got a nutty flavor, and it's kind of sweet. And the jade pearl rice is really good. The jade pearl rice, they grow this jasmine rice, and then they infuse it with this wild bamboo extract.
Yeah. I thought that was green tea, so it was bamboo.
No. It's a bamboo extract. And they tell you in their instructions that you shouldn't wash it because you'll wash off the green stuff. But it cooks up beautifully, and it's so delicious.
Yeah,
we put a lot in just by itself. We also put vegetables.
I got a whole assortment of rice here in my kitchen. What we use here, and I'm going to show all the stuff. So this guy is Lotus. We know these people, really good stuff. This is the sushi rice when we make sushi here.
Right. You know, I had some sushi rice the other day, but they put raw fish on top of it. What's up?
Do that. Ooh, Matisse.
Yeah. Also, good friends of mine, they bring that stuff in from Spain. That's the best stuff for paella.
What is that? How much is that? $12 a pound. Probably,
yeah. Really good though.
Yep.
Paella
rice, so different. Another Matisse, expensive one. This is about, I think it's $6 or $7.
Yeah.
Canaroli,
which is great for risotto.
That's about $7 a pound.
That's grown in the Po Valley up in northern Italy.
And my royal basmati long.
Oh yeah, basmati rice, so great, so nutty, flavorful. When you cook basmati rice, it just fills the whole kitchen with aroma. It's really beautiful. Jasmine's the same way. I like to cook it. I like to cook it with a little bit of orange zest in it, and it flavors the rice a little bit. We cook rice a lot with vegetables. We'll add like cooked spinach to it. We'll add peas, all kinds of vegetables. Great with fish, of course. Great with everything. I prefer it.
Rice collection.
Huh?
My rice collection.
Your rice collection. You've got your own. Supermarket there behind you.
Yeah, we at the kitchen we buy really good stuff. I have only good stuff. You can see.
Yeah.
Over there, you know what that is?
What is that?
What is that?
Oh, Valrhona chocolate. Is that like your daily allowance there, that box?
Same.
I never more than one box.
This is how I make my bar. I make a special bar that I'm going to start selling. And we use the best chocolate that is possible to buy. We buy best food anyway for everything. So it's pretty easy.
Well, if the doctor ever tells me I can only have one box of chocolate a day, I'm going to get that box. Valrhona chocolate is so good.
Valrhona is $29 a pound.
Yeah, but it's very good. It's great for making all kinds of chocolates. It's great for baking.
Pretty good. It's amazing stuff.
Flavor.
This one is 100% cocoa.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. You mix it with anything you want. So let's talk about rice for a minute.
It's very healthy stuff.
Yes, rice is good for everything except for one little thing that has to be taken in consideration. Is there is arsenic in the rice, and that's everywhere. It's just the way it is. Arsenic comes from the sky. It's the residual of all the mercury, whatever, anything that comes from the sky, from the pollution, from whatever the recycling. It's all. So it's not like organic rice or non-organic rice. Of course, you want to spend money on rice and you want the best rice possible, but you will always find arsenic. It's very difficult to not have arsenic in the rice. So that's fine. That's not a big deal. What you need to understand is you need to eat a lot of herbs with that. Remember, we talked about heavy metal like cilantro. That would be great. And also very important is, in my opinion, I would not eat rice more than twice a week.
Really?
But
That's
that's
probably about how many times a week I eat it.
you guys. It's a personal thing. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. This is a personal thing. There's no, I don't have any scientific evidence of that. I just say that because of the arsenic, I cannot put it into the food I make for cancer people.
Huh.
So I work with lentils. I work with, if I do rice, it's a very little bit of rice and lots of other stuff. This is just, it's just an extra precaution. It's no big deal. Rice is really good. I love rice. I love rice. So twice
I
a
love
week,
that too.
2, 3 times a week. You don't worry too much, as long as you eat herb with that. And when you talk about rice and beans and all the stuff, this is how it's classified.
Hmm.
You have 3 types of starches we eat. The everything that is a grain is a grass family.
Right.
That grows as a grass is a grain. So that would be rice. Then that would be what else?
Also wild rice.
Amaranth, quinoa,
Right.
corn,
Wheat.
wheat, all this stuff. Anything as a grass is, and I read something fun also. I forgot. And then you have the legumes. So anything that comes into a pod. So a pod is a
Right.
So what do you have in there? You have peas, lentils, all the pulse. Then you have something like koro.
Aliens. Aliens come in pods too. I I saw the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, so I know.
Oh yeah, right. That was a good documentary.
Yeah, it's very scary.
So anything that comes in a pod is a legume. So that would be all the lentils, all the stuff, and then the beans, and then what else? Cocoa beans, coffee.
Yeah, those are different though because they grow on a tree. They're in these big. They're in pods, true,
Yeah.
but
So
they're big hard pods that have to be cracked open.
but that's the difference with the nut. The nut is actually a hard shell. So
Right.
the third category of hard big tree with a hard shell on it, that would be the nuts. So the legume are all the beans, and that includes cocoa, coffee. That includes vanilla.
Vanilla is related to is a type of orchid.
Yeah, but it's also it is a,
Also in a pod, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the beans, the little beans in there.
Yeah.
When we buy vanilla, if you buy good vanilla, you should see the beans in there. Let me show you.
Right. Well, and you can buy fresh vanilla beans too, and split them open with a little paring knife, and just
So, for example, this vanilla, which is really expensive, you see all these seeds. Those are the seeds in there.
peered. Oh, there you are. Oh yeah.
This
Yep.
bottle is about 400 or 500 bucks.
Yeah. But you don't use very much at a time. I mean, you use very small amounts of vanilla.
Right. So, yep, it's fun.
And vanilla comes from the New World, just like chocolate. It came from Central America, and it's hard to imagine that there was ever a time in Europe where they didn't have chocolate and vanilla because they're so pervasive.
1600. The chocolate came in Paris with the coffee, kind of, I think, at the same kind of the period.
Mm-hmm.
I told you that before, but the fact that coffee was in Paris allowed women to be able to go have drinks out
Oh, right.
and conglomerate and not being watched as alcoholic. So
Oh, yeah.
they were able to have tea or coffee or chocolate. And one of the oldest places was Angeline.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Isn't that
In
scary?
Paris, you can still today have the hot chocolate. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Angeline was a place where women can go outside and being allowed to in the 1800. They were allowed to meet their friend and be in public, which that never happened before that.
And the world hasn't been the same since.
Good. Thank you, women. Thank you.
You know, that's another thing about Lotus Foods
Please
and
take over everything.
Lotus
Man,
Fruit, and other companies.
James, you froze. Stop freezing.
Oh, sorry.
Are you doing the mime?
Yeah. In fact, their mission statement on their website is organic, heirloom, and free trade specialty rice grown on family farms with respect for women, water, soils, and communities. Pretty cool stuff. They put a lot of women to work, and they have developed these very, very, very low water methods of growing the rice. So these are countries where water is at a premium, so they can't afford to fill the fields.
There's a fun fact about rice. When we talk about DNA, our DNA genes, our whole DNA sequence, the number of them is lower than rice. Rice has more DNA than humans.
Really?
Because you have to understand the DNA is very complex. When the plant cannot move, has to think of all the possibilities. Cold, snow, this. We can walk. We can. If it gets cold, we either put a coat or go somewhere and protect ourselves. But the rice or plants cannot do that. So they have to have in their code, in their DNA, all eventualities. How to react to freeze, heat, insect, all this. It's crazy, huh?
Well, if they're so smart, how come they stay out in the rain then?
They don't care. But this is why our DNA is really important in understanding food. So food and our DNA are friends, but nothing else. Anything that is food doesn't have the proper DNA. The body cannot read it. It cannot read the instruction. So it's going to get sick. So you have to eat the real food. That's because our DNA and the DNA that's of the food, they already know each other. They know how to complement and talk to each other. Fake food has no coding that's proper for the human body. Does not belong in the human body, and you should never eat fake food or unreal food. Food made up is not good.
Fake food? You mean like the little plastic sushi they make in Japan?
Like whatever, anything that make fake, like those all these bars and all this stuff. They're useful. I eat them sometimes, but it's not really fun.
Well, you can't live on them though. That's the thing. People try to substitute food for that.
Absolutely not. Like every time I talk about garlic being a very, very amazing immune system, immune booster, and all this stuff, but you need to eat food first. The garlic by not going to do anything. It's not like, oh, look. No, you need to be in a regular diet, go on the sun, walk, and then the garlic will help you.
That's right. That's right. Well, I think we quoted this the other day that Hippocrates, who's considered the father of medicine, said that you should look for your medicine in the cooking pot.
Ah, that's great.
And, rather than looking for all kinds of ways to be healthy outside of your food, you should look to the food first.
There's nothing else. There's nothing else because every day you need to bring the nutrients or the tools that the body needs. And if you don't bring them, then it can't work. Like really, that's simple. It's very simple. And even though there's a lot of biochemistry facts that are very interesting, they're interesting to read about it. I'm very interested in it, but it doesn't bring me any answers. Food is food.
Food is food. Well said.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to it. I eat it every day. Of course, I could say the same for alcohol too, and I don't know if that's essential, but I think it's essential.
But yeah, it can be. Alcohol in moderation is good.
Well, I do drink it in moderation.
Very important thing, and I'm going to tell you guys, whoever's listening, or look, nobody, is food not in moderation, but not in excess. So understand the difference between moderation and excess. You don't have to do moderation all the time. It's fun to whatever. Excess on a regular basis will make you sick, for sure.
Right.
It could be,
with anything.
Fat, meat, or too much veggies. Yeah. Even too much veggies, even though it's going to be hard, but yeah, it's possible.
Yep.
Good.
All right.
Well, that's our date, man. Thank you, James.
We're out of time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I'll
everyone.
see you.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you
And
tomorrow.
I'm doing my food and I'm going home, and you guys will see my beautiful kitchen all cleaned up, ready to go.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, we've been working for 3 days here making food for people, and we start again next week. All right.
Great. All right. See you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.